Hay didn't just play heroes on screen. They lived heroism when the cameras weren't rolling. While Hollywood crafted stories of courage and sacrifice, these men experienced the real thing, trading scripts for rifles, and soundstages for battlefields when their country needed them most. This wasn't publicity. No staged photographs. No carefully managed image. These were real acts of courage, from stars who risked everything, their fame, their fortunes, and their lives. Some volunteered at the height of their careers. Others found fame only after surviving the horrors of war. But all of them carried those experiences back with them, into performances shaped by something no acting school could ever teach: reality. The first legend, Audie Murphy. The most decorated American combat soldier of World War II, Audie Murphy. Small, underweight, and rejected multiple times by the military, Murphy refused to give up. At just 17, he lied about his age to enlist. What followed was extraordinary. In January 1945, in eastern France, Murphy stood alone against an advancing German force. Outnumbered, wounded, and completely exposed, he climbed onto a burning tank destroyer and used its machine gun to hold off the enemy. For an hour, he fought alone. Then, he led a counterattack. For this, he received the Medal of Honor. After the war, Murphy became a Hollywood star, even playing himself into hell and back. But behind the fame, he battled severe PTSD, haunted by the very experiences that made him a legend. Before World War II, James Stewart was already one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, known for his charm and authenticity. Despite his fame and success, he chose not to remain in the safety of the film industry when war loomed. Instead, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces, determined to serve on the front lines rather than in a publicity role. After rigorous training, Stewart became a bomber pilot and flew dangerous missions over Nazi-occupied Europe, where the risk of being shot down was extremely high. He often led formations, carrying immense responsibility for his crew's survival. The stress and intensity of combat left a lasting impact on him, both physically and emotionally. Rising through the ranks, he eventually became a brigadier general. After the war, Stewart returned to acting, but with a deeper emotional range, shaped by real experiences of fear, courage, and loss. Marvin lived through the kind of violence most actors only pretend to experience. Enlisting in the United States Marine Corps during World War II, Marvin was sent to the Pacific, where fighting was intense, brutal, and unforgiving. During the Battle of Saipan in 1944, he was seriously wounded by enemy machine gun fire, an injury that left lasting physical damage and ended his combat service. He spent over a year recovering in military hospitals before being discharged. That experience stayed with him for the rest of his life. When Marvin later stepped into film roles, especially in war and crime movies, he didn't need to imagine fear or aggression, he had already lived it. His performances carried a raw authenticity, shaped by pain, survival, and a deep understanding of the true cost of violence. Charles Durning endured some of the most brutal experiences of World War II. Drafted into the U.S. Army, he landed on Omaha Beach during the D-Day, where chaos, gunfire, and death surrounded him from the moment he stepped onto the shore. Many of the men beside him never made it off the beach. Days later, during intense fighting in France, Durning was stabbed multiple times in close combat but miraculously survived. His ordeal didn't end there, he was later captured and witnessed the horrors of the Malmedy massacre, narrowly escaping death. These experiences left deep emotional scars. For years, he rarely spoke about the war. Yet, that quiet strength and pain subtly shaped his performances, giving them a depth and humanity that audiences could feel, even if they never knew why. Gable was known as the King of Hollywood, with global recognition from films like Gone with the Wind. When World War II began, he had every reason to stay behind. He was over the typical enlistment age and one of the industry's most valuable stars. But after the tragic death of his wife, Carol Lombard, in a plane crash while supporting the war effort, Gable made a life-changing decision. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1942 and trained as an aerial gunner. Stationed in England, he flew combat missions over Nazi-occupied Europe, facing intense anti-aircraft fire and enemy attacks. During one mission, a shell tore through his aircraft, narrowly missing him. There were even reports that Adolf Hitler wanted him captured alive. Gable served with courage, proving he was far more than just a screen legend. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. transformed his Hollywood creativity into a powerful military advantage. Serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, he became deeply involved in unconventional warfare, where intelligence and deception were just as important as firepower. Recognizing that war could be shaped by illusion, Fairbanks helped develop and lead a unique unit known as the Beach Jumpers. This special operations group specialized in psychological warfare and tactical deception. Using loudspeakers, fake radio transmissions, smoke screens, and carefully staged maneuvers, they created the illusion of large-scale amphibious landings in locations where no real attack existed. This misled enemy forces, causing them to divert troops and resources away from actual invasion points, ultimately saving countless Allied lives. Fairbanks personally took part in dangerous Mediterranean operations, including the invasion of Sicily. His efforts earned him numerous military honors. More importantly, his innovative thinking helped shape modern special operations tactics. He proved that imagination, when applied to warfare, could be just as powerful as weapons on the battlefield. Henry Fonda chose service over stardom at a time when he was already one of Hollywood's most respected leading men. At 37 years old, with an established career and family responsibilities, he could have easily remained in the United States making films to support the war effort. Instead, he made a deliberate decision to step away from the spotlight and join the U.S. Navy as an ordinary seaman, refusing special treatment or privilege. Fonda's intelligence and discipline quickly earned him a commission as an officer, and he went on to serve as a quartermaster aboard a destroyer during the D-Day operations. His role required precision, calmness, and constant focus, especially while navigating dangerous waters under threat of enemy fire. Later, he was transferred to naval intelligence, where his sharp observational skills were put to critical use. What truly set Fonda apart was his silence after the war. He rarely spoke about his experiences, carrying them privately. Yet those who worked with him noticed a quiet intensity in his performances, an emotional depth shaped by real duty, responsibility, and the weight of war. Sterling Hayden lived a life far removed from studio lights. A seasoned sailor by his early 20s, he had already developed a deep understanding of the sea, skills that would prove invaluable during World War II. When war broke out, Hayden didn't hesitate. He enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, but his unique background soon drew the attention of the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the forerunner to the CIA. Recruited into covert operations, Hayden was assigned dangerous missions in Nazi-occupied Europe, particularly along the Adriatic coast. Operating under immense secrecy, he commanded small vessels used to smuggle weapons, supplies, and agents to resistance fighters. These nighttime missions required precision, courage, and nerves of steel, as German patrols constantly searched the waters. Discovery would have meant capture, or death. Hayden's efforts directly supported partisan forces resisting Nazi control, helping disrupt enemy operations from within. For his bravery, he was awarded the Silver Star. His wartime experiences left a lasting mark, shaping the hardened, authentic presence he later brought to his film roles. Neville Brand had already proven himself a real-life warrior. Enlisting in the U.S. Army before America officially entered World War II, Brand quickly distinguished himself in combat. Fighting in Europe after the D-Day, he led infantry units through some of the war's most dangerous battles. During intense fighting, Brand was wounded by enemy fire but continued to lead with determination. His courage earned him the Silver Star and Purple Heart, placing him among the most decorated American soldiers of the war. Yet, like many veterans, the psychological scars he carried were just as significant as the physical ones. When he later turned to acting, those experiences shaped every performance. His roles as hardened criminals and soldiers felt real because they came from lived experience. For Brand, acting became more than a career, it was a way to channel the intensity and darkness left behind by war. Final reflection. These men didn't just act brave. They were brave. They didn't just portray war. They survived it. And when they returned, they brought something back with them, something invisible, but undeniable. A truth. A weight. A reality that made every performance deeper, every character more human. Hollywood made them famous. But war made them unforgettable.